about real estate.
If you allow me, Malcolm, just to clarify one point I tried to make in my first comment. The evolution of the Chinese real estate bubble, which threatened to undermine stability of the property and financial markets a few years ago when they started their stimulus program, the evolution of that bubble is totally different from what happened in the United States in the years leading up to our financial crisis in 2008. Greenspan and his associates who ran the Fed at that time did not want to recognize that there was a bubble developing. And even if they were willing to acknowledge that there was a bubble, their conclusion was that's not our problem. We cannot recognize bubble, and even if we could recognize bubble, we don't know what to do about it. This is the market. It's easier to clean up after the bubble burst than try to control the bubble. The Chinese approach to their bubble, which began to become serious after so much liquidity was pumped in the economy from the end of 2008 onward, the Chinese official response has been totally different from Greenspan's. Their response has been, if there is a bubble, we better recognize it and try to do something about it. That's why they began to introduce all these administrative buying restrictions in April of 2010. Then the market overreacted to that. Prices actually went down, and they didn't want that either because they were afraid that that might slow down the economy too much. So they began to remove some of these administrative restrictions again last year. And it seems that the Chinese, although it is too early to tell, it seems that they have succeeded in controlling a very dangerous bubble, which the US was unable to do.
It's Pieter said one thing that's exactly right. It's a really, really tough thing to put hands around it because we've been seeing really conflicting data points on the reported, like 43 key cities, the transaction volume prices. It seems like stabilizing, but when we talk to developers and follow, individual, because we've been doing, 2 projects, big projects each city for 12 cities over the past year. Price deceleration pretty clear, not big, anywhere between 5% to 10%. That's on the explicit side, but there's obviously implicit discounting, such as giving, free parking lot, auto licenses, etc., etc. So if you take those into consideration, it might be 10 to 15%, but still less than what we had thought a year ago. And when we talk to developers, and when we talk to the online transaction guys who sell apartments for developers, just things do not look great. I mean, they themselves, the people on the ground that do not share confidence as most people on Wall Street in the investment community seems to share. So I mean, there's definitely conflicting data points. So that's really sort of our observation.
A lot of people have been saying for a long time that this real estate market in China is a bubble, but as Pieter mentioned, in the last month, housing prices have actually turned up, which is not what happens in a speculative bubble popping. So I just wanted to see if there was anybody still on the bubble bandwagon and what people who still were had to say about that.
I really think that you need to wait out a little bit because of the Chinese New Year. I think all those and the timing of last year was the last day of January. This year is mid of February. So what we do is we got those like weekly data. We kind of just ignore them, and we're going to combine January and February, and then perhaps the combination tells a better story as opposed to year to date. 6 weeks, whatever. I think that's. I mean, it's a little bit like kind of. It has seasonality bias to it because of the timing of Chinese New Year.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard a lot of people say that a lot of data coming out of January and February is tough to compare because of the New Year falling in different dates. So do you think that next month we're going to see the numbers drop back down again?
I think January and February, once you have the February number and January number, of course, then you combine the two, and then it's more apple to apple, as opposed to Jan to Jan, the Feb to Feb.